A very good evening to you. You are watching Primetime News on News First. I'm Saturang Hapawarachi.
And I'm Dasni Atada. Let's start off with a look at tonight's headlines.
Interim order issued restraining Mahinda Rajapaksa and 48 others from functioning in the capacity of Prime Minister, Cabinet Ministers, State Ministers and Deputy Ministers. Mahinda Rajapaksa expresses dissent over Court of Appeal decision, appeal to be filed with Supreme Court tomorrow. President meets UNF leaders, UNP to submit affidavits showing parliamentary majority. Supreme Court issues notice on Ranjan Ramanayaka over contempt of court case. Demonstration at the Housing Development Authority demanding permanent appointments.
An interim order was issued restraining 49 MPs, including Mahinda Rajapaksa and those named as cabinet ministers, state ministers and deputy ministers from functioning in their respective public offices. This order was issued when the writ of quo warranto filed by 122 petitioners who are members of Parliament was taken up before the Court of Appeal today.
Court also issued notices on the respondents, directing them to show by what authority they claim to function in public office as Prime Minister, Cabinet Ministers, non-Cabinet Ministers and Deputy Ministers. The petitioners in their petition had pointed out that a no-confidence motion had been passed in Parliament twice and that the respondents had usurped public office, namely the positions of Prime Minister, Cabinet of Ministers and other ministers. Court said that it considered the submissions made by the President's Council appearing on behalf of the respondents that if interim relief was granted, it would result in the country having no Prime Minister, Cabinet or other ministers. On the other hand, Court had also considered the submissions of President's Council appearing on behalf of the petitioners, who pointed out that grave damage would be caused if interim relief was not granted. Court held that what the petitioners have requested is not to restrain the functioning of the Prime Minister or the Cabinet, but to restrain the respondents from functioning in those capacities, which is directed at the individual respondents to restrain them from functioning in the relevant public offices. Delivering the order, Court of Appeal President Justice Padman Surasena also held that as to whom should function in those offices is not a matter for the Court of Appeal, but for those with such power under the Constitution. The order also says that the court is mindful of the damage that would be caused if the court, having granted interim relief to restrain the respondents from functioning in their public offices, then proceed to subsequently dismiss the application, refusing to issue the remedies sought by the petitioners. The case will be called once again on the 12th of December.
Following the adoption of the no-confidence motion in Parliament, Mahinda Rajapaksa and the other ministers retain power illegally as the illegal Prime Minister and Cabinet under Article 48(2) of the Constitution. The Court of Appeal issued an interim injunction against them today. As of this moment, Mahinda Rajapaksa and his illegal Cabinet cannot even place a signature. I believe that if there is any shame, the President will act today to resolve this problem. As we expected, the court issued notice on the respondents, but we did not expect the interim injunction issued by court constraining the Prime Minister and Cabinet from functioning. In truth, we are surprised at the decision made by the court, since we put forward evidence that this was based on false documentation. We respect the decision of the court, but we do not agree with it.
Mahinda Rajapaksa has announced that he does not agree with the interim order issued by the Court of Appeal today and that an appeal against the order will be submitted to the Supreme Court tomorrow morning.
Issuing a statement this evening, Mahinda Rajapaksa noted that it is the Supreme Court that exercises final power in constitutional interpretation and taking relevant decisions. Rajapaksa added that they remain committed to the movement to hold a parliamentary election in order to restore political stability.
The following views were expressed by former Chief Justice Sarath N. Silva in Colombo today.
An election was determined. The Supreme Court suspended the dissolution. Elections and Parliament are kept on hold, and today the Court of Appeal destabilized the Cabinet as well. The President who gave such orders has also been destabilized. No one is stable, and we cannot continue in such a manner. We want a stable government. How can we take a country forward with a destabilized constitution? Never in history have we faced such an unstable situation. Parliament was dissolved by the President, and Ranil Wickremesinghe's supporters say that these powers are subject to the Clause 70 of the Constitution. Orders from the Supreme Court were obtained by substituting the Constitution with new terms. The Constitution cannot be destabilized by an individual. All institutions, including courts, are not empowered to destabilize the Constitution or the sovereignty of the people. If your voting rights are being deprived, that is against the Constitution. These views were expressed by Sarath and Silva at a rally organized by a group called Jatika Ekamutuwa in Maradana today.
A public rally organized by the United National Front was held in Galle today.
The interim order of the Court of Appeal was issued while the rally was underway in Galle.
I have some good news. The court has prohibited Mahinda. We call on Maitripala to hand over the government to us on Wednesday. We say to Maitri that if it is not turned over, then we will come there to forcefully take over. Where is the warrant of appointment? The court is saying what the people are saying. In the name of the gods, get lost. What did the court say today? They said that this is not a verdict against the government but against individuals. It said that the relevant authorities can appoint a legitimate Prime Minister and a legitimate cabinet. It was said that thereby it would not harm the governance of the country. We have affidavits and pledges to show that we have the majority in Parliament, and this has been given to the President. This fight is to uphold your sovereignty. We are ready to convene all parties and hold the elections on the day that they wish. Since that government is no more, tonight at 8, the leaders of our government are going to meet the President. We will hand over the 123 affidavits and ask the President to restore the government which prevailed on the 26th. There is no Prime Minister in Sri Lanka now. The court has decided and the 40-odd ministers must now go home. The Cabinet and Deputy Ministers have been sent packing. There is no one. We are not unusually asking for government power. We are going to the ministries tomorrow morning. We do not need their permission. The courts have given us permission. This is the first time in the history of the world that a court has abolished all the ministerial positions in a government, including the Prime Minister, Cabinet Ministers, State and Deputy Ministers, and sent them home.
Now, various views are being expressed regarding the current situation after the Court of Appeal provided an interim injunction with regard to the holding of office by the former Prime Minister. Faraz, how do we now address it? To shed some clarity about this Court of Appeal injunction order that has been issued, and what does this really mean? I think our viewers watching us from home will want an understanding. You have been discussing matters with several President's Councils today, several constitutional lawyers, and if you are able to give us a situation, as now we just heard a UNP parliamentarian Rajitha Senaratne also saying that we will go into the ministries tomorrow. Can they do that?
Absolutely not. We must understand that what has been given today is an interim order. This is not some final decision. It's interim. And that word means temporary, until such time as a decision, a proper decision is taken, a final determination. And therefore, everything is on hold. What it means, however, it doesn't mean that the government is on hold. Because as per this, we are so lucky in Sri Lanka because we have a written down constitution. And it's all here in the constitution. It's absolutely without ambiguity. Ultimate power rests with the President of the Republic. In this case, with His Excellency Maitripala Sirisena.
So there is no government at the moment for us?
He is the government. All powers are with the President, and it's all contained in the Constitution. As for, he doesn't really need ministers now. Because in such a situation...
But Farad, how can a country continue without ministers?
The President has all the powers in the book, and that is, it is the President's prerogative to appoint ministry secretaries.
So what you're basically
all
saying,
the ministry secretaries.
what you're basically saying is that the President can continue with him being the President and without any ministers.
Absolutely.
This is mentioned in the Constitution.
It's all here in the Constitution because it is the President's prerogative to appoint the ministry secretaries.
Who will be in charge of the ministries then?
The President.
And the ministry secretaries, what happens to them?
They are the operational, they've always been the operational side of matters. The minister merely oversees the policy of their government. The chief accounting officer in all the ministries is not the minister. It is the ministry secretary. The ministry secretary wields an enormous amount of responsibility and power and authority, and they derive all those authorities and powers from the President, who is the appointing authority.
So when parliamentarian Dr. Rajiv Senaratne said that we can go into the ministries tomorrow, does that statement have no validity?
It certainly doesn't have validity. These are mere politicians' flourish, and that's all it is. There's nothing in the rule books that gives credibility to what Rajitha Senaratne said.
We also have for us the UNF party leaders having a meeting with President Maithripala Sirisena at the Presidential Secretariat. We have our reporters standing by from evening when the meeting started at around 8 p.m. tonight, and we are experiencing bad weather, but we are able to connect to our reporters who are standing there. We have Deshan Gonavala standing by. Deshan, can you give us an update of what is happening there?
People coming into the Presidential Secretariat here. Okay, take.
As I mentioned to you earlier, we are experiencing some technical difficulties.
You just saw, and you can continue to see, is of people coming into the Presidential Secretariat here in Colombo, where there are crisis talks currently going on between the President and leaders of the United National Front. Now, in lieu of the court order granted today, the political situation in the country has taken a turn for the worse, and it looks like all parties involved are coming together to try and find a solution to this matter. We see a number of large vehicles currently entering the premises of the Presidential Secretariat. We haven't seen too many vehicles coming out up to now. It's difficult for us to also confirm the identity of the people coming in, but this is the end. This is the end of the line of vehicles that are going in, and as you can see, they are making their way all the way to the President's office, where the discussions are currently taking place. We do not know the outcome of the discussions that are happening at the moment, but we will know in not too long, and we will bring you the very latest from News First, and reporting from the Presidential Secretariat here in Colombo in front of the Golf Face. I'm Deshan Gonavala.
That was the meeting that is currently being held with the UNF party leaders with the President at the Presidential Secretariat. As Deshan Gonavala, our News First correspondent, mentioned, we will keep you updated throughout the day and tomorrow as well as to what has been happening at this meeting that is currently taking place at the Presidential Secretariat. It's back to Dasani.
Yes, Chaturanga, President Maithripala Sirisena met with the representatives of the Tamil National Alliance this evening.
Representing the TNA, leader R. Sambandhan, M.S. Sumandiran, Selvam Adaikkalanan and Dharmalingam Siddharthan attended the meeting. Secretary of Defence Hemasiri Fernando and officials of the Attorney General's Department also attended the meeting. We spoke about the prisoners and we made a request to make an immediate decision about them. We couldn't make a decision today because of the prevailing political situation in the country. So we decided to meet once again in 2 weeks to talk about this. We mentioned that a solution should be provided immediately. We did. We requested the President to do what has to be done. Meanwhile, our correspondent said that Mahinda Rajapaksa and a group of UPFA MPs arrived at the Presidential Secretariat. However, the TNA representatives say the UPFA MPs did not attend the meeting held with the President.
UMP parliamentarian Vijaypala Hettiarachchi expressed the following views at a media briefing held in Akmimana today.
We
will take care of dealings inside the UNP. Sajid Premadasa is the leader we want. He will most probably be the candidate for the prime ministerial post when the parliament elections come around. When proposing an alternative solution, we cannot create chaos like the prevailing situation. He could appoint Sajid Premadasa and then say no, he wants Navin Disanayake instead. He can say you don't have the majority, you go home. In a few days, they will say Navin Dissanayake, you don't have the majority, show the majority. In the end, they can even seat Nimal Siripal de Silva in the Prime Minister's chair if this is allowed to continue.
Notice was issued on UNP parliamentarian Ranjan Ramanayake today to appear before the Supreme Court on the 7th of this month with regard to charges of contempt of court.
The Chief Justice informed the Chief Registrar at the Supreme Court to issue notice on Ranjan Ramanayake over charges of contempt of court stemming from a recent statement made by the MP on a televised program over the justices on the bench hearing the petitions challenging the dissolution of Parliament. The Attorney General has also been notified to appear in court on the 7th. The bench, led by Chief Justice Nalin Pereira, decided to issue notice on Ramanayake after taking into consideration a CD containing the statement made by the MP.
A group of UNP MPs visited Kandy today.
A group of UNP MPs, including MP Ranjit Maluwa Bandara, called on the Lekadikari of the Askiri chapter, Venerable Dr. Madagama Dhammananda Thero, and later called on the Chief Prelate of the Malwadu chapter, Most Venerable Tibbatuave Sri Sumangala Thero. The group also called on the Anunayaka of the Malwadu chapter, Venerable Dimbul Kumbure Vimala Dharma Thero. The people are suffering. School students didn't get their uniforms. So if this continues, may God bless the people of this country. You were appointed to Parliament to serve and support the general public.
Convening a media briefing today, UNP parliamentarian Bandula Lal Bandarigoda expressed the following views.
Yesterday, we saw Kurunegala district parliamentarian Mahinda Rajapaksa making a statement claiming to be Prime Minister regarding the cases being heard in court. He says he is a lawyer. However, it is clear to even the ordinary citizens and everyone in the country that through his statement he has attempted to influence the case. He has attempted to influence court.
Police had to intervene this afternoon to disperse a group of unemployed graduates who staged a demonstration in Colombo.
The Association of Unemployed Graduates commenced their demonstration opposite the Fort Railway Station at about 11:30 a.m. today. It has been almost a year since the recruitment was initiated for vacancies of development officers and the interviews were held. Appointments were given for about 4,000 individuals. There were another 16,000 to be recruited and the funds have been allocated, but the recruitment has not taken place. This political gamble is irrelevant to us. We ask that the executive power be used to resolve the problems of unemployed graduates. Only the problems of the people in this country are relevant to us. Security had been beefed up around the environs of the World Trade Center as the demonstrators approached the premises. When the protesters attempted to enter the area surrounding the presidential secretariat in violation of police orders, police took steps to disperse the gathering.
A group raided the National Housing Development Authority for not making their positions permanent as per the agreement.
The group, who were recruited as trainee staff at provincial offices, were given a letter stating that they have been removed from service on the 27th of last month instead of being given permanent appointments. This group staged a protest today obstructing the vehicular movement along the main road opposite the National Housing Development Authority. Afterwards, the group attempted to enter the main building. The police intervened and obstructed their entry. These people built houses in both rain and shine. Now they have issued fake letters and put those people out. The people here are not from Hambantota, but from Trincomalee, Kilinochchi and Mullaitivu. People from all 25 districts are here. How can you remove a person from their job using fake letters? How can you do this using a letter without a signature? Who will take the responsibility for this? We will ask Vimal Weerawansa. Do you take the responsibility for this? Subsequently, UNP MP Mujibur Rahman held a discussion with the protesters. While the protesters continued their protest until the general manager was notified, a few representatives were given an opportunity to meet the officials. The general manager, however, instructed officials to not permit journalists to cover the meeting. The group began their protest once again as a solution was not given. The protesters were then informed in writing that the letters notifying their removal from their respective positions were null and void. They were assured that they will be reinstated in their jobs from tomorrow.
The news. Speaking at a media briefing today, leader of the Ceylon Workers Congress, Arumugam Thondaman, expressed the following views.
I contacted the Prime Minister's office this morning and I was told there is no change of stance by the Employers Federation and the RPC companies. So if they are so hard-hearted to give the ordinary plantation worker this wage increase, then we have no other option only to take this struggle forward. So from tomorrow we have declared we will take trade union action until we are considered for the wage increase.
Startling revelations came to light at the Presidential Commission of Inquiry on Sri Lankan Airlines today that the national carrier had paid 430 million rupees to passengers between the time period 2008 to 2018 financial years as compensation for mishandled baggage. Testifying at today's commission was Senior Manager of Security at Sri Lankan, Titus Kannangara, while evidence was led by Senior State Counsel Fazli Razak.
Between the 2008 and 2018 financial years, Sri Lankan Airlines had paid 430 million rupees to passengers as compensation for mishandled baggage. Given below is the annual breakdown of the compensation paid. From 2008 to 2009, 33.8 million rupees. From 2009 to 2010, 17.4 million rupees. From 2010 to 2011, 49.4 million rupees. From 2011 to 2012, 20 million rupees. From 2012 to 2013, 42.5 million rupees. 2013 to 2014, 41 million rupees. From 2014 to 2015, 44 million rupees. From 2015 to 2016, 56 million rupees. From 2016 to 2017, 50.8 million rupees, and from 2017 to 2018, 75.5 million rupees. Though the airline recorded several incidents of pilfering baggage, the security division admitted to not taking corrective action against those responsible for the theft. It was proved through an audio recording of a telephone conversation that an airline employee named Ranmuka, who topped the watch list for pilfering at the airline, was overlooked by the security division, and a senior security manager had requested that authorities turn a blind eye to Ranmuka's actions in the future. It was further revealed that employees at the baggage counter deliberately complicated processes to discourage customers from lodging complaints and recording thefts of assets.
Sports First, Allianz Platinum Awards 2018.
I have participated for Olympics. Everyone's dream is to participate for the Olympics. Winning a platinum award is a challenge as participating for Olympics. I wish everyone all the very best. I am Tamara Samandipika.
Sports First, Allianz Platinum Awards 2018.
On the sports news, before we go, a media briefing was held today with the participation of the team members of the Sri Lanka Deaf cricket team, who were champions of the Deaf T20 World Cup.
The Sri Lanka Deaf cricket team won the Deaf T20 World Cup, beating India by 36 runs.
We were determined that we will take this trophy to Sri Lanka. We have a talented team. We must acknowledge the advice given by our coach Jayagala Ponsu and Mr. Ushanta. We also thank everyone who provided their support. Thank you.
Sri Lanka cricket.
As members of the Sri Lankan cricket team, I congratulate everyone. The cricket team and spectators all enjoyed the event. As the captain of the Sri Lanka cricket team, I wish that you will be able to bring in more awards and achievements to the country. Differently abled cricketers must have equal rights. That is why I have instructed that the differently abled cricketers be enrolled as an institution that comes under Sri Lanka cricket. Start this today. You do not have to go elsewhere looking for resources. You will receive the same privileges enjoyed by the national cricket team. That's all the news we have for you this evening. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Saturana Haparachi.
And I'm Dasniya Falda.
Coming up next is Face the Nation, where we will discuss the current political climate in lieu of the interim order issued by the Court of Appeal earlier today.